Hello, everybody.
What's up?
What's up?
What's happening?
Thank you so much for joining me. Let me just introduce everybody. I have to my, here we go. To my right here, stage left is Cody the Man, aka Leach, horror-loving son gun.
Yes.
And then I have Mr. Film Trigger Stevie down there. Hello.
Hello. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for joining me on this because I've never, lives are new to me, and I've never done a shoot from the hip live reaction to a amazing film. So thank you for joining me on this inaugural occasion. And just a level set here, I just walked out of the theater. I just got home right now. So Cody, how many times have you seen Batman? Or
saw it for the first time on Tuesday. I was going to see it again a second time today. Decided to switch over. I'll be seeing it tomorrow afternoon for the second time.
Okay. And Stevie, you saw it when?
I saw it Tuesday for the fan premiere thing that they did.
Yeah.
And I accidentally got like the best seats in the house too. It was pretty weird. Like I thought I was gonna get terrible seats, but I was like right in the middle. It was great.
People behind me almost got into a fight because of the seats. It's the only theater in my area that hasn't gotten with the times and done the little seat selection thing whenever you buy your tickets.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I got there half an hour early and I was already screwed. But luckily, really? I found the smallest, nerdiest looking kid possible, and I was just like, "Is this seat taken?" No. And then I sat down, and then there was like 3 seats behind me that were empty, and this huge black guy came in and went up the stairs and just sat down. And the guy's like, "Excuse me, we're saving those seats," and he goes, "Sorry." And then they were just like this. They went.
Hey, what are you going to say? You can't say nothing.
Just sat back and they scooted over 2 seats.
I do not miss those days at all. I just watched a Seinfeld episode about Elaine saving seats for all the guys at the theaters, and I was thinking, man, I do not miss doing that. Thank God for seat reservations.
Yeah, I'm glad and it's such a simple thing. Like, why did it take so long to actually have a sign?
I was bitching for years. I'm like, this is so stupid. You got to get here an hour early. Everybody's saving seats.
They've been doing it in the UK for years, like decades.
And then you get those jackasses that walk in like the first 7 minutes of the movie, and they're standing there in the pitch black, trying to find a seat to Avengers Endgame, and you're like,
calling out for their friend.
It ain't fucking happening. Yeah,
Dad, we're meeting in the parking lot after Larry.
Now, everybody who's watching this is going to be a spoiler discussion. Now, we're going to talk our initial thoughts about the Batman. Again, we have a lot of perspectives. These two gentlemen have had the advantage of, letting it soak in. What you're going to get from me is my initial reaction, but we're going to talk our initial thoughts first, and then I'll go ahead and give everybody the warning that we'll go into spoiler talk. So I want to kick this off on my initial thoughts. So again, I saw it in IMAX today in San Antonio at 3:00. I just got home 25, maybe 30 minutes ago. So my initial thoughts are these. You ready for this? You guys ready for everybody?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Fuck yes! Woo!
What he said.
This film, there is a new standard in filmmaking. This film is not a comic book film. This is the greatest graphic novel I've ever seen put on celluloid. It is a hallmark occasion, and it's setting the new standard for filmmaking. I thought Joker did that, but this now sets the standard for filmmaking. This felt, oh my God, like a classic Hollywood movie. A detective story is what it felt like. And granted, you have a man in a Batman outfit, but I've said this plenty of times, and Cody, you know this. One of my favorite films of all time is Zodiac. And this felt like Batman in the Zodiac world. And I absolutely loved it. And I was speechless leaving the theater. I had no idea what I was going to say tonight, but my God, this film is absolutely amazing. That's what I've got to say. So, Cody, what were your initial thoughts when you saw it?
I mean, pretty much the same as you. This felt like a Batman movie that was made for me. And I made a point to say it in my review that we all have different things about Batman that we like, different versions of the character, different pieces of who Bruce Wayne is that we kind of latch onto, that we want to see more of. And I have always been like, where's the detective? Where is the world's greatest detective? Even The Dark Knight, which many would say is the greatest. You get that one little sequence where he's putting the bullet back together. That's about all you get. And even that, he's just kind of using computers. He's not really detecting.
Right.
And so even in the best movies, I'm like, where's the detective? And then whenever, I think it was when Arkham City came out, when you started to have to find like 4,000 Joker or Riddler riddles.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what'd be cool if we got rid of this Jim Carrey shit and we got a Riddler that was like Jigsaw, where like there was traps or like he was, it was life or death if you didn't solve the riddle. And like so many little things that I've said and I've kept in my head for decades now. And it's swear it was almost like Matt Reeves had my house bugged and he was like, okay, that's pretty good. I like that one. And then, so when I first saw the trailer, the tone of it, and David Fincher's Seven is one of my favorites, which, you know, he did Zodiac. And this film very much feels like it's inspired by both.
Yes.
I got those kind of vibes from it. And I'm like, okay, it's like David Fincher's Seven, one of my favorite directors, one of my favorite films. He's detecting. It's a murder mystery. Riddler's a fucked up serial killer. Can it really be that perfect? And then I watched the movie, and like I said before we went live, I'm usually hesitant to go really, really praiseworthy with new films because people tend to ride hype.
Yeah.
A lot of times now, I bitch about it all the time. Everything's either 5 out of 5 or 0 out of 5. It was the greatest movie I've ever seen since last weekend, or it was garbage. And so I'm always like contrary. And I'm like, it was great. 4.5, whatever. And this is the only time I've seen a brand new film, went home, thought about it. And I was like, there was nothing that I would change about that. Like all of my negatives, I had to preface it by saying, these didn't bug me, but there are things I noticed that you might bitch about. And so everything in this movie from start to finish was perfect for me. This was like my Batman movie.
I would 100% agree with you. It's not going to be for everybody.
No, it's not.
No, it's a very slow paced film. Well, at times it's slow paced, but it's a very
deliberately paced.
Yes. And I love that. It just takes time with there's like a kind of like a romance that's never really been brought up in the Batman film in a mature non-comic book fashion. It felt very mature. And again, just there's so many plots. There's one plot with of course, with the Riddler, then the subplot with Falcone, and then the other plot with that one girl who gets murdered, which I won't say anymore until the spoiler piece. But it just felt like a very mature. It didn't feel like a comic book film to me, is what I'm trying to say.
It felt like a chapter book. Yeah. Like even when you get like one of the biggest things I've heard everybody harping on is that the movie feels like it's coming to an end and there's still 45 minutes left, and it's all wrap up. It's all, you know, it's all the epilogue and everything, kind of letting the characters kind of marinate in the aftermath of what happened over the past 2 hours and everything like that. Yeah. And by traditional movie standards, I would typically agree. I'd be like, why didn't we end it there? This is weird. Why are we still talking? What are we doing? But something about this felt like a chapter book, to where, like, you know, chapter one, I think our buddy Sean even said it almost felt like a mini series where you could see the chapter breaks. And it really does feel that way. And so even when the film reaches its natural climax, where now we've solved the main problem of the movie, I was still hanging on. And I'm like, I want more. I want to find out how people feel about this. I want to see how Gotham's reacted. And the movie does that. And I thought that was ballsy. Yes. It was almost like, going back to David Fincher, it was almost like his version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, where that movie has an extra 30 minutes or so that's all like the epilogue before the next book. And that's very much how it felt, the way that it was paced out and the way that the story kind of wrapped itself together.
And Stevie, what did you think? Your initial thoughts? So, like you said, you saw it a couple days ago, so you've had time to let it soak in. So go. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, well, overall, my issues that I have surrounding this movie, I have discovered, and we'll talk more as the spoiler talk comes about, I discovered really has more to do with the property of Batman than it does the movie itself. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But my first reaction to the movie was I thought it looked great. It was definitely a much darker tone. You said, you know, that Joker set a high bar, you know, or that was the expectation. Well, yeah, I think it kind of led the way for movies like this to be made, kind of like Deadpool did a little bit as well, you know, with the R rating, a little bit pushing harder with that stuff. But the movie was not boring in any sort of way. I never found myself exhausted by the runtime. The dialogue, I had some minor issues with, but you know, it's a comic book movie at its core, so you kind of got to give leeway for stuff like that. But overall, I came out of the movie just kind of confused on how I felt about it. And I discussed this with you in backstage, Rudy, but it took up until today for me to figure out why I had issues with this movie. I sat down to do my review last night, my actual review, and I just stared at the camera. Like I was like, I don't know. I can't just regurgitate what I hear people saying like that. So I had to sit and think about it. Because I enjoyed the movie so much. I really did, but I came out not fulfilled. And because like Cody said, that movie seemed like it was made for him. You know, he had ideas that paralleled with this film. For me, I thought this movie is being targeted and marketed to me, you know, Mr. Music over here, inspired by Kurt Cobain. Like, this movie's like, you know, up my alley. I love Seven. I love The Crow, which I saw a lot of The Crow vibes in this movie as well. I love that sort of noir detective sort of thing. And I was like, man, this movie's right up my alley. And I came out of it not feeling complete. And I know it sounds like I'm being vague.
That's how
because
you were supposed to feel.
Well, jeez, man, it was.
Now, when you say it wasn't complete, what was missing? Like, what was missing for you?
Well, it wasn't what was missing as much as what I had already recognized. And that was where I've eventually come to the conclusion that, God, how many reboots have we had with this franchise? How many, different takes have we had? How many grounded versions have we seen, if you break it down to movies? And I think I'm just getting fatigue of the property, because when I saw the movie, I recognized a whole bunch of things. And I even said in my initial reaction to the movie that, oh, well, I remember that from this movie. I remember that from this movie. I remember that in this movie, wrap all that up in a 7 bow. And I've seen this movie before. And again, my first reaction when I first came out, it's like they took all these other pieces of all these other movies and somehow made a unique, creative movie out of it. And I couldn't wrap my head around it for a while. And then I realized, just thinking about it, I think I'm starting to get fatigued because it's not the past movies that I'm seeing. It's the past movies also using the same source material, to draw from. And I think I'm starting to recognize that. So I think I need to go see this movie again and remove that filter. Because it did kind of bum me out when I left. I wasn't nearly as excited as I thought I would be leaving that movie.
And you know what I've always found peculiar for myself. I'm guilty of this as well, because when a film's coming out that you absolutely cannot wait to see, it's something like my number one anticipated film of the year. Your expectations in your mind are so freaking high that sometimes that is a deterrent for the actual experience, because you're seeing through these lenses of what you want to see. And not what's in front of you. And I've actually caught myself doing that. I made a strong conscious effort not to do that to these films, because I'm self-sabotaging my own experience. And I think maybe that's what happened with you, because I don't know, for me, I didn't know what to expect. I knew, again, I had a Zodiac feel. And this is, if I was going to make a Batman film, this is what I would want, because I love David Fincher movies and I love the graphic novels. I got a ton of them back there. And I've wanted to see a film, not a comic book, a film taking this mature content and treating it like a murder mystery. There's a serial killer out there. There's ciphers. That's what I've always wanted.
Yeah, and this movie did a wonderful job with that. And that's where I was at my impasse, was because I was sitting there thinking the future that this franchise, that this iteration of Batman has a lot of potential, a lot of great potential to bring us what we've seen bits and pieces of before, but never really, the whole rogues gallery, the Batman video games, the Arkham series, kind of coming to life. That's what we want. And this movie has such great potential to deliver that. But again, I didn't go in there I went in there with not super high expectations, but just enough expectations. But I think I'm going to enjoy the creative route this movie is going to go. And then when I saw everything just kind of regurgitated, I blamed it on the movie at first. And then when I realized it wasn't the movie, now I'm looking back and going, man, now I want to go back and see this again, and watch it for what it was trying to portray. Because I did let that filter askew my opinion of it. So
real quick on the comment, Nola Beecher says this completely blows Spider-Man No Way Home The flood scene was intense, having me on the edge of my seat. Now, real quick, I know because comparisons are what we always do naturally. Like, how does this rank with the other Batmans? How does this compare to Marvel? I'm going to be an advocate and say I'm not going to do that. Because one, I just saw it. And two, the Spider-Man and this film are completely different markets.
Yeah.
And completely different films.
You're comparing a haunted house to a roller coaster. I mean, yeah.
Thank you. That's exactly what you're doing. They're two different things. They're both great in their own space. And the markets, I bet, are not going to be similar to this. People who love Spider-Man may not like this because, again, it's not a let's have fun, nostalgic experience, where you can bring the kids. People brought kids to this film. And it's a matter of fact that the energy, again, because I just left the theater, as soon as the title screen showed up, Batman taking up the whole damn IMAX screen, it was just quiet. Mm-hmm. Everybody was sucked in, especially, and again, spoiler right here for everybody who's watching, a spoiler real quick. The reveal of the Riddler, the first shot you see him in, I was absolutely in love with how that was shot.
It was like a horror character.
Yes, and all you saw was the glimmer of his lenses, the mirrors in frame right there. He steps out of the frame, and then you just see, what's that? Oh, he's right there. Like, holy shit, I love this movie already. This is great, man.
I had the same thing. It was that, and then right after that, paired with the scenes where the criminals see the bat signal and they look down the dark alley, and it just stays on the alley, and they're like, fuck that, we're going this way. And it just
the city always doesn't know if he's there. Like, this movie did a great job portraying the
fear.
The fear and the mythology of Batman, like that he doesn't even have control over. It's the rumors, it's vengeance hiding in the shadows. And that's kind of where, well, I don't want to dive into spoiler talk. Go ahead. Just keep going. We'll get there eventually.
But Cody, just to kind of piggyback off what you said, them looking in the shadows and fearing, it's the first time I think any of the Batman films have truly captured what his presence and fear does to the criminal element. It reminded me of Michael Myers. Like, Michael Myers, what I love about him, unlike Chucky and everybody else, it's Michael Myers' presence in a city or presence within a shot. You don't know where he's at, so there's fear. He's a presence, and this is the first time I've ever seen a Batman film where his presence was felt throughout the city, and I'm like, that is so awesome.
I said in my review about the Nolan trilogy, especially, they did a great job at making it like the criminals feared an ass whooping.
Yes,
but in this movie, like, they're pissing their pants just at the fact that they might even see this guy, and like just hearing the footsteps.
Yes,
when they're just like,
yes.
Oh, shit.
And even that,
right,
like, okay. Even with that, like, on the other side of it is when he's with the police officers.
Yes, yeah,
and like that same presence exists, but like differently. It's in a different atmosphere. And so when he's hanging out with the police department, which we've gotten glimpses of before in other movies, but it was never this immersed. He was never that part of the the investigation before. And just the feeling, like, when he's walking through that room, it was almost the way that he was, the way he would look around the room at the police officers when they're staring him down. It reminded me when schools got segregated. Remember, like, you've seen like old clips, and and you'd see the African-American ladies walking into the building of the school, and like everyone staring at them, but them having this confidence just to keep moving forward. It reminded me of that. Like, it's like an isolated uncomfortableness, but like you're gonna stand your ground anyway. It's, I don't know. That's just how I recognize that.
Real quick to the comments, Steve. I get it. It's too early, but I'm not going to have any chance to film a spoiler review later this week. So that's why I wanted to do it this week with some gentlemen who have seen the film already. We have different takes here. I just saw it. I walked out. I haven't even had a moment to let it soak in. Stevie and Cody have seen it a couple days ago, so their reviews are out. So this is my opportunity to get my thoughts out there and try something different and to get it out there. Again, if you haven't seen it, don't watch this video yet. Watch it, later this weekend. When you've had a chance to experience it, because we don't want to ruin the film experience for you. So just throwing that out there. Real quick, going back to your points, the Batman suit. You think about it. If you're a director, right, and you have your actor in a Batman suit, how do you want them to stand? How do you want them to engage with people around in a murder scene, right?
Right.
You know, they can stand heroic. You know, they can do anything they want or do something, whatever the tone of the film is. And what I enjoyed about this Robert Pattinson's portrayal as a Batman, one, I love the suit. I'm saying it right now. It's my favorite suit of all the Batman films. This is hands down my favorite suit because you got to see it. It reacts while he's fighting. When he got shot, you saw like sparks flying off his chest,
right,
and how he used the suit. But I love how Robert Pattinson used just his presence. Like his arms were at his side. He just stood there. He kind of looked the room around. He just kind of scanned it, and just seeing that detective at work on a crime scene was so unique. And that's something we haven't had a chance to see fully developed in any Batman film. But just Robert Pattinson's presence in that suit, how everybody, the police, the commissioner, everybody reacts around him. He commands presence. And he commands reaction. So I just love. Again, it's a new relationship. They don't know what to think about him. Everyone's giving Gordon crap for even talking to him. And by the way, Jeffrey Wright was amazing as Commissioner Gordon. I absolutely love him. I love him in anything. I don't think he's ever done anything that I don't like.
Real quick to piggyback on your on the suit comment here. There was one thing I did notice about when he would come out of the shadows, you'd hear his footsteps coming from the distance.
Yeah, the sounds.
And, and when he comes out of the shadows and he's like doing that dead stare, just walking slowly towards you. I went and saw this with my son, and I looked at him. I'm like, this reminds me of when you would put on a Batman costume, like 4 years old, the confidence that he had when he had that bat suit on, at 4 years old, just walking out in the neighborhood for trick or treat. I was like, that's what I saw with Pattinson's Batman. He had that confidence of a 4-year-old pretending to be a superhero.
You know what? And I'll say, I know
that's not an insult. It might sound like an insult, but it's not. I swear.
No, but I will say this. Like, I know when they announced, it's funny, whenever they announce a Batman, people always react negatively. There was Ben Affleck's reaction, and now with Robert Pattinson. And, if you love movies, he's a tremendous actor. He's amazing. And I was really happy with the casting. And I think all those criticisms about him and, the Twilight, he's going to spark all this bullshit, those are put to rest. He gave one of the best performances for a Batman we haven't seen yet, because, again, we've seen a lot of Batmans. I love Ben Affleck's. He's 20-year vet. He's bitter and pissed off about things, and he's all these other things. And we had the comic book versions with Michael Keaton. Then you had the kid versions with Val Kilmer and George Clooney, and then you had the grounded reality ones with Nolan. But this one gave us a Batman. We didn't get a true origin. He's already 2 years in. And I just love how it's still new to him. And I think Robert Pattinson did an amazing job. As far as the performances, I can't think of one weak link in this film.
No, all the way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think of performances?
I thought it was perfectly cast. I mean, I was a little worried about not necessarily the film being overstuffed, because I feel like that's something that's just been overdone ever since Spider-Man 3. That kind of like turned into a term. Anytime there's more than 2 villains, it's overstuffed.
Yeah.
But I was impressed with not only how well the performances were, but I was impressed at how well they utilized all of the characters, because you have a new version of the Riddler, wildly different version of the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
You have a new Catwoman. You've got a new version of Penguin. You've got these mobster characters like Falcone. You got Jim Gordon. And it never felt like the movie lost focus on Batman. And that's always been one of my criticisms, even with great movies like The Dark Knight Rises, is that it feels like the villains take over the show. And that's certainly the case in the Burton films. And even the Schumacher ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's always been a frustration of mine outside of Batman Begins, where it's like, this is a Batman movie. Like, why does Batman feel like the side character? And Riddler was utilized sparingly just to make a presence and to propel Batman's arc forward. Same with Penguin. He was only there to service the story. It wasn't like a side chapter with, let's just show Colin Farrell and how great he is. And he's amazing. Even with Catwoman was there to complement the whole journey that he's going on with this investigation. And so, yeah, all the way around, I thought it was even smaller roles like Andy Serkis as Alfred. Not in the movie very much, but the little bit that he's in, I'm like, yeah, that's a great new version of Alfred. Different kind of relationship with Batman. It's similar to what we've seen, but more strained. You get that fatherly role and everywhere else, and this certainly feels like that. But you have Robert Pattinson in a point where he's not ready to really embrace that yet. And that's what I really liked about the story that they told they decided to tell with his Batman is that we've gotten all of the origin stuff out of the way. We don't have to watch the pearls fly or any of that we've seen 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But it still feels like an origin arc for his Batman, because he's in that early stage to where Bruce Wayne is dead. He's just Batman. And that was something that I had just got done criticizing George Clooney for, was like, he's the same performance, whether he's Batman, Bruce Wayne, whatever. You got to have different personalities. And this does that, but it was deliberate and it was for a reason. The human part of him is dead because of the trauma and everything he's been through, and now he's just the Bat. He goes out to stop crime and honestly doesn't even really care if he dies that night and doesn't come back. And I think that was a really interesting place to start this character off with, because that's an interesting arc for the sequel, the trilogy, however many we get, that we haven't explored yet, is Batman kind of figuring out how to be Bruce Wayne as well.
Right. As far as pros, Stevie, what other pros did you have on this film?
Well, I mean, kind of just going off what Cody just said a little bit, the story of Batman becoming Bruce Wayne, it kind of paralleled a lot in my mind of when we got Henry Cavill's Superman, and like his journey to be the hopeful Superman that everyone wanted to see. And I don't know if we ever quite got there, but like I could see this being that same type of journey as well, except we expect the dark and brooding Batman. That's why it's easier to, an easier pill to swallow than the Superman one. But I did respect that aspect because at first I was noticing how it was very one note. Okay, he's Batman, Bruce Wayne. It's all just one thing. And as you said, Cody, that was deliberate. That was something that by the end of the movie, like, he had to be that way for this movie to be told the way it was told. You know, by that third act, which is kind of a questionable third act, it kind of falls down a little bit in excitement for me, but it needed to happen to kind of start this journey into who Bruce Wayne actually is, who he wants to be. As a matter of fact, I almost even more so compare this to the Amazing Spider-Man, when Andrew Garfield saved that kid off that bridge, and he realized it's not about going out and searching for the one person who killed Uncle Ben. There was something more to this that he could be. This is that same type of journey I see this Batman being on, for not even just this movie, but probably for the next few.
Yeah, it feels like his motivation is just to take out his rage. It's not necessarily to save the city. That's just kind of a fringe benefit to what he's doing. And even
he didn't save the city. I mean,
correct. But I'm just saying, even his motivation, it's not like I'm going to go out because I need to save the innocence of Gotham. He's like, I need to go out because I need to fuck somebody up tonight. and that's kind of where this Batman is mentally. And there was even a quote that was great from Robert Pattinson before the movie came out, where they were discussing his one rule. And he's like, a lot of people interpret that one rule as like Batman's morality. Like, I can never go that far. And he's like, and I almost see it as he wants to go that far, but he has to put that blockade there so that he kind of keeps himself in check. Like, he wants to go out and strangle the Riddler. He wants to go out and shoot the Penguin in the face. And so that's a different attitude, a different approach that I really like. And even down to like the third act, when you get to that scene where he's, helping people, and the little girl like puts her hand on his arm, and he's like, what the fuck? I'm a hero. And he's like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah. All right. There is something else to this. And like, it's a similar arc that we've seen where, Batman Begins, where he's so dark, doesn't care, I'll just walk in and talk shit to Falcone or whatever, but it's never been as psychological as this one.
Right. Yeah. And again, just to remind everybody who's watching, this is a spoiler review. I just saw it, so this is my initial reaction. Cody and Stevie have seen it a couple days ago, so they've had time to let it soak in, and their reviews are up, I believe. Stevie, yours is up, right?
My first reaction, my other review should be up when, God, who knows, next day or two.
Okay. But just to kind of, again, so spoiler conversation, just to let you guys know, but just to kind of, speaking about his arc, as you said, he just wants to go out there and kick ass, and we kind of see that vengeance. We've seen the trailer where he just beats the hell out of that Joker-looking guy, and he has that tone. He's just kicking ass and just not giving a crap, going into clubs and just beating up people and all these other things. It's so freaking awesome. But I love the ending where one of the Riddler's men is looking at him, and Commissioner Gordon asks him, "What are you?" And he goes, "I'm vengeance." And camera just slowly pans, and Batman's face like, "Holy shit, what have I become?" He's like, finally, there's this arc, there's this self-awareness of what he was doing. And then, like you said, the last scene where he's saving the people from the flood and that one person touches his arm, and that's his arc. Boom. He finally, as he says, I realized there's a different feeling to this. There's like the feeling that I was hoping to capture or have people react with me is different now. They gave him hope. Yeah. So I love that arc.
Yeah, the impact he had on the city wasn't the impact he was hoping to have.
There you go.
You know, that was kind of the point with that. You know, oh, I'm vengeance. You know, like that was oh crap, I'm getting the wrong attention to the wrong people. You know, that's definitely a good perspective we've never seen Batman really have to experience before in that personal of a light. And that's one thing I really do like about this Batman is there's a lot of moments where Bruce Wayne has connections with humans and it seems alien to him, you know, but like it's like almost Alfred. What's that?
Like Alfred.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like he can't, he has to put up this wall between him and Alfred, but like especially when it comes to that child that he focuses on, you know, at the funeral, you know, like just the way he's just caught just staring at this kid, you know, and that's the moment I realized in this movie that this is probably the one of the Batman movies that we can get a Robin into and have it seem organic. You know, because that look that he gives that kid, you know, like I could see that sort of like that same integrity being why he chooses a Robin for this franchise. I know it sounds crazy to say. I know you hear the word Robin, you want to like run the other way.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, like if they keep that same integrity with this Batman, you could infuse a Robin into the storyline on that principle alone of he wants to protect somebody who is like him. Yeah, that's my Robin theory there.
Robin theory. Well, we have a comment here. Nene FGC says, "Do y'all recommend Taming Expectations since people saying this is the best comic book movie ever, etc.?" Cody, go first.
You should tame your expectations for any big movie coming out because, like I just said earlier, you can't really trust early reactions. I mean, we all choose reviewers that we kind of line up with, but you know, even somebody that I line up with the most, I don't take their word as gospel. I'm just like, okay, cool. So they like it. And typically I don't even read or watch reviews before I see a new film, but there's a lot of hyperbole that's always out there one way or the other. Anytime something's new, it's the best ever or the worst ever. And, you know, I don't know if I'm ready to say this is the best comic book movie ever. I can just say that this is a Batman film that was gift packaged for me. And that's why I love it on the level that I do. Yeah. So it all depends on what you want, what you expect out of the movie, what you want out of the character of Batman, out of the world of Gotham. And hopefully it lines up with what you want. But like we've said, this is the type of movie where there's going to be a lot of people that love the character of Batman, that this is just not going to be their Batman.
Right. Stevie, what do you got?
I feel the same as Cody. And I'm not really into comics. I've never really read the comic books or anything like this, so I never really compare movies like, oh, this is the best comic book movie. Like, no, if I like this one, this is going to be the best Batman movie, you know, or something of that sort, and I wouldn't even put it there on my list, but this is definitely a one that you should go out and see, especially in the theaters personally, you know, because we live in a world. I mean, this movie will be out in 45 days on HBO Max. You know, if it wasn't that great, I'd say just wait it out. But no, like this, to me, this is a good enough movie for you to go to the theater and, you know, derive your own opinion on it. Yeah, don't listen to the hype for sure.
Yeah, and just to add, yes, definitely tame your expectations. I just mentioned earlier that sometimes our own expectations we will self-sabotage the experience by expecting, you know, the greatest film ever. I would just say go in and expect something that we haven't seen yet. I cannot think of another comic book film. And again, I hate calling this film a comic book film. It's a graphic novel on film.
It's similar to Logan, where it almost feels like you're diminishing it by calling it that, isn't it?
Yes.
It's weird.
Yeah.
An insult in a way. This is not like a Spider-Man or Doctor Strange or anything. It's a film. It feels like it was made in the 70s in a way. It feels like a 70s raw detective vigilante film. That's the best way I can describe it. And go in expecting something you haven't seen before in the comic book genre. Because truthfully, we have, and Logan is the only, like you said, is the only thing I can compare to. Maybe Joker. Those are the only films I can compare to. So expect a just a tension-filled experience. There's going to be some graphic murders that take place. There's going to be crime scene investigations. Again, if you love Seven and Zodiac like I do, this is going to be your wet dream come to fruition, dude. This is the best film ever in that type of space is what I'm trying to say. Now, I guess for the one pro I want to mention before we go to the cons here, but the pro, one of my favorite set pieces in this film is the Batmobile.
Oh my God, I love that fucking thing.
I know. I was kind of like, lukewarm when I first saw it, but I knew it was like his second year. It was like a modified hot rod. But just that scene, to get spoilers, everybody. Spoilers. 3, 2, 1. You got it. When that fucking thing revs up.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's like a jet engine. And that whole chase scene with the penguin, you've seen glimpses of it in the trailer. That is one of the best chase sequences in film in general. It was so action-packed. I don't know how much CGI was used, but it looked pretty intense, and just how it comes to an end.
Your earphones getting a little heavy there, Steve?
A little bit. Gotta get rid of these Behringers.
And just the way that sound design sound with that engine just revving up, my girlfriend just elbowed me in the arm. Like, I know. It just probably my favorite Batmobile. I know that every Batmobile is unique in their own sense, right? But this one is so. I would drive that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I would drive it, man. God.
Batmobile, bitch.
Yeah, get it. What'd y'all think about that sequence?
I loved it, and yeah, like you said, I saw it in IMAX, the fan event, and yeah, when it was that scene where the Riddler was doing his thing, or I'm sorry, the Penguin was doing his thing, and then you just hear, like I felt it in my nuts. I was just like, holy shit!
Yeah,
and they're just sitting there staring at it, like, what is he about to do? And just hearing the engine rev,
and it just kept going.
It was as mean as Batman's presence was in the opening of the film, where they look in the shadows. It's like the Batmobile had the same effect. Like, what the fuck is that thing over there?
It was good. It was really good. But I do ask you guys a question. Does it top Dark Knight Rises when the bat comes out of the alleyway?
Oh,
you know that when it's like, you know, like this. You want to talk about like a vibration in your whole body.
Oh,
you know, when,
God.
For me, it does, because I've never really liked Batman using planes and stuff. I don't know what it is. I never liked the Batwing or the bat. I think they call it in that one, whatever.
Yeah. I'd have to say the Batman, that engine is revving up is probably my favorite. Again, I think it's my favorite Batmobile. Again, I'm just saw it. This is my initial reaction. I can change my mind in a month from now, but that as of right now, it's my favorite Batmobile. But again, the Tim Burton one's always like my second favorite, but it's a different genre. It's a different type of tone. So you really can't compare them. It's your own personal taste. But this one, holy shit! My God, dude. It's fucking awesome, dude.
It was a great sequence when that Batmobile started up, and they took it to where it needed to go, and then they kept it going for like another like 2 seconds. You know, just to reiterate, like, this is a badass Batmobile. And you said one more pro, right? That we're doing the pros.
Yeah, if you have a pro, go ahead.
I just want to drop one more like in the hat there. I just have to give a shout out. Colin Farrell as the Penguin was one of my favorite characters in the film. I just, every time he was on screen, I was just focused on him. You know, like I was trying to see him. Where are you, Colin? Are you in there? No.
Yeah. No. If you would not have told me that Colin Farrell was in this movie, I would have never guessed that. You could have said, guess who's playing the Penguin? I've been like, that's got to be some unknown actor, but he's fucking great. Who is it? And yeah, way too often nowadays, the prosthetic faces almost seems like a gimmick. Like, we got to do this and, you know, make somebody transform into a character, but you still see the actor underneath it. He disappears, like in the makeup, in the physical performance, in his dialect. That's the Penguin. That's not Colin Farrell anymore. And that is so hard to do with somebody as well known and has been around as long as Colin Farrell. I always have that argument. People are like, should A-list actor play Freddy? And I'm like, no, because I'm just going to see the actor. I'm not going to see Freddy. He was gone. He was the Penguin.
Yeah.
And I hate the character of the Penguin. I've always thought he was such a stupid ass villain, but I could not wait to see more of him.
And you know what? He's an Irishman. He has an accent. For him, there was no accent. His accent was consistent. His body, everything you said, the body language, the faces he made, it was flawless. I never would have guessed.
Never. It really hyped me up for the series, the HBO Max series.
Yes.
It really did, especially with the announcement that came out, I think either today or yesterday, where they said they're going to push it to, like, you know, the most mature rating they can on the series.
Hell yes.
I felt like this movie was that. Like, I felt like this movie was maybe like a a hair away from being R-rated. Like people made such a big deal out of the fact when it was officially PG-13. This is like the most R-rated PG-13 movie I've ever seen.
I know it seems more R-rated than the R-rated version of Batman v Superman.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you got literally like severed fingers and all this stuff where I'm just like, holy shit, they're going there. This is awesome.
I could definitely see where the PG-13 came in though. There was moments where I felt like I was watching a PG-13 7. You know, like I was like, if I watch 7 as PG-13, this is about what it would look like.
Yeah. Well, there was no sword dildos, but yeah, I get your point.
Director's cut. Yeah.
Yeah. But to that point, I actually, it made me so happy to see WB, the company that destroyed the last 2 Zack Snyder films to where they were unrecognizable when they released them in theaters, actually give this film to Matt Reeves, and it seemed like they let him do whatever he wanted to do. Like I don't see a director's cut to this film. I think we saw the director's cut.
Oh yeah.
I think if there was going to be one, they would have had one that was 2 hours and 20 minutes. It would have had some things taken out of it, and that's just sometimes filmmakers can go too far, and you could see why they need to have a tap on the shoulder. Like, okay, maybe that's not a good idea, but this really felt like Matt Reeves wanting to get something out, to get this detective noir 70s type movie out, loving the character of Batman, wanting to synergize them both together, and just giving this vision that he had unfiltered to the audience. And it's just so refreshing to see that, when so often it feels like it has to go through about 18 hands and then we just get whatever comes out the other end.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I just one of the interviews I read with Matt Reeves in the past week or so is, you know, he said the only thing Warner Brothers asked him to do was keep it PG-13. You know, and they're like, you know, push it as a, you know, as a hard PG-13, whatever. But on the other side of that, it's very interesting to see the toys for this movie. Have you guys seen the action figures?
No, I have not.
It's so weird. Like it just, like I look at that action figure, I'm like, God, that looks like a rated R action figure. Like that's weird. It's so strange.
Gotta look that up now. See what I can find. Let's see. Oh my God! Yeah, you're right. They're actually McFarlane toys. Let me.
Oh, that probably that makes more sense then. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just show everybody
right next to Spawn.
Sit next. Let's see. Share screen and sharing.
That knife dildo here.
There it is. There's I mean, it's a figurine. I don't know if that's a toy, but there you go.
$20. How big is that thing? 7 inches. I want it.
Well, I saw an actual commercial, like an actual commercial with, you know, like 2 kids, like get the Batman, you know, today, and like it was just the suit, just it's such a like a tactical suit. It just does not translate into, you know, like Mattel, you know, very easily.
I'm seeing McFarlane toys. That's kind of cool, but I can't see like a Happy Meal set. Or get the Riddler, kids, you know, with the
now with your thumb keychain. Yeah.
Wasn't it amazing how full of shit 80s and 90s toy commercials were? They made those things look like so badass, and you would always buy them and try to do the stuff you saw in the commercial that would never freaking work.
They were way too much into them. I remember I had one that had like a Terminator thing. You put like the Terminator in there, because I'm old enough to know, like, to when Terminator 2 came out in theaters, I was like 13, like right up my alley.
Me too. Yeah.
So like when you put the Terminator in this thing, and then you put this weird peach putty stuff into this tube, and you squeeze it in, it turns into the skin that goes around the skeleton.
Yeah.
You know, and then you open it up, and it's supposed to be like, okay, you can take the skin off like he's being shot at. This stuff never worked. You open it up, and you just melted like the Blob. It was never fun. Never fun.
There were toys for RoboCop. I remember being that young. Go get your RoboCop. I was like, what kid's gonna go see RoboCop and go buy the toys afterwards? So
I was.
My parents took me to see that.
It's gonna get dark for a second, but like my mom would kind of abandon us. And so she would kind of come and go the first 4 or 5 years of my life. And I remember distinctly, I was either 3 or 4 years old. And my dad knew that whenever we went to go drop her off at the airport or whatever, that I was going to realize that she wasn't coming back with us. So he told me that we're going to go get a toy. And I got the RoboCop toy, where like his leg popped out and had the gun inside of it and everything. And it was like, bye, Mom, I got RoboCop.
that toy was so badass. I remember that toy so much.
I had the little button on it. And dead or alive, you're coming with me.
One last.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just gonna go for it. Just go.
I was gonna say one last pro for me. It kind of ties back to my conversation I had with Al last week about DC versus Marvel films. What I love about DC films, and Cody just mentioned this just a few seconds ago, is that when Warner Brothers shuts the fuck up and just lets a filmmaker make a film, they make some great fucking films. I mean, look at the Joker, look at Donner, look at Burton, look at Nolan, look at Jenkins, look at Snyder. When they leave a film alone, they make some great timeless films that I think will transcend this comic book genre. And with this film, what Reeves did, what this film absolutely has that most Marvel films don't, is cinematography. And this film had some amazing, beautiful shots that I would want on my wallpaper on my computer. There's this one shot at the very end. Again, spoilers, everybody. I've reiterated this plenty of times, but there's just an above head shot where Batman's leading people out with a flare from a flooded area. That shot is so fucking beautiful, man, with the red light and the negative space in the back. It's filmmaking. And then at the very end, where Batman's carrying that little girl, it's shot with the long lens, so it's a little blurred. And you see Batman carrying a victim from a site, and there's firemen over here trying to rescue other people. I'm like, that's such a beautiful shot, man. And that's what I love about these films. They look like films, classic Hollywood films. And I don't ever get a shot like that with any Marvel film. I don't. That's the difference for me. What are the big differences? Anyway, that's my
can't really
no. I'm sitting there. I'm just thinking about that shot. Like I was going down a rabbit hole in my head of like him, Batman becoming the beacon for the city. You know, and that shot, like just capturing that.
We have a comment here. Then we'll get to the cons in a second. Glad we are finally getting a Riddler that's not campy or goofy. Yeah, it's not Ace Ventura Pet Detective in a Riddler outfit. This is the Zodiac Killer. Yes, the Riddler.
I said in my review. I said he's like 30% Riddler, 30% Zodiac, 30% Ghostface.
But you had an odd number, and you had like 25% something else, I believe.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the other one.
Math doesn't work, but it's what works for him.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Now, as far as
cons, Stevie knows much better than I do.
As far as cons, again, I just saw it. I can't think of a con. I mean, I usually stay away from reviews until I see the film. That's when I go watch what my other YouTube brothers and sisters are thinking about. I don't want that to cloud my judgment, but I've heard some people say that there's a slow portion in the middle, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So after the second act, there is a 20-minute segment where there is conversations where Bruce gets to realize, the lie that what's his face, Alfred was kind of keeping from him, and what his family did, and this whole charity fund that just went, untouched. I don't think it's a slow moment. Yes, the momentum goes completely low. I mean, you just have the bat chase in that bat chase sequence, which is the best sequence in the film, I think. And then there's some character moments, which feels like a slow point, but in my opinion, it wasn't, because again, they had to have those conversations and touch on those moments. So that's the only slow point I think people will hate or say like it dragged. I don't think it did, in my opinion. Any cons for you guys?
Well, I don't think it slowed the movie down, but as much as it was just it didn't slow it down for me, but I could see where people would say that, because it was kind of an odd moment in the movie where like the world's greatest detective just took this mob boss's word for it and went and, told Alfred, hey, fuck you, man. And Alfred's like, hey, no, fuck me. No, fuck you. This is what really happened. Why are you listening to Falcone? So that did kind of like draw out more than it had to, but it didn't take, it wasn't, I disagree that it slowed the pace down, at least not for me, but I can't understand why people would think that.
If you will highlight film speak, his comment right there is actually the only section of the movie that I could have done 100% without. And it wasn't really a negative, because I know it was probably necessary for whatever their plans are. And I need to see the next film before I can say 100%. I walked into this knowing that there was probably a 75% chance if anybody was going to get teased, we're going to get somebody laughing in the background. There's going to be a smile on the wall with graffiti or
shows up.
Something. I know that they're going to try to get to the Joker. The Joker's almost a bigger commodity than Batman at this point.
Yeah.
But I really want this universe to focus on other villains. I don't need us to fast forward to the Joker. If we don't see the Joker till the third film, I'm fine with that.
I agree.
And so when we got to that moment, and the Riddler's sitting in his cell, and then you hear this goofy little cackling guy, and I was like, oh, what, already? Okay. And I thought it was fine. Like, it wasn't a bad scene, but it was the only moment in the movie that felt obligatory for me. For an almost 3-hour movie, it felt like everything needed to be there. Everything had a purpose. Everything tied back into the main plot. This was the only 2-minute stretch in the 3-hour movie that felt like we got to throw this in here because it's not necessarily part of the story. And so that's really, if you put a gun to my head and said, what's one negative with this movie, that's the only thing that I would point to that I would say that was probably a negative for me, but it didn't affect my experience because I kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Cody, in the sense of I was hoping that it wouldn't show up that way. Yeah. I even had the discussion with my son Seth as we were going into it. I was like, man, I hope if they do bring Joker in this, it's like they don't reveal who it is yet, but we find out in the next movie it's somebody we just spent the entire last movie like knowing, but not knowing that was going to be the Joker.
Yeah.
And because I didn't want to copy and paste of the
I'll look into it.
yeah. I'll look into it. Yeah. I didn't want to copy and paste, but they gave us a slightly different version of that. But and what I forget, Film Speak touched on too also was that it felt like it was ripped out of the 60s Adam West show, which I think, and I know we're past the pros, but I did want to give this a quick honorable mention, is I did love the 60s Batman throwbacks we got in this movie, at least aesthetically speaking, with this cow, the way that when the phone rang, it was like the old rotary style phone with blinking lights. Then you have I forget what the statue head, which in the 60s movie was you pull that back and it's the red button that opens up the Bat Cave. There's these little nuggets of 60s Batman. I'm like, okay, you know what? If you're going to get inspired by or use that as a slight inspiration, I'm glad they did it tastefully and not, too much like the 60s Batman.
Holy rusted concrete Batman.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And Don't Speak. Yeah, we touched on this. You were screaming like crazy earlier. That it has to be one of the best chases ever. Straight up Christine. Yeah, especially
I want to see somebody re-edit that scene with the John Carpenter music. That would be the shit.
Oh God. And again, I seen the trailer. I know how that chase was gonna end, but just how it ended in the film, like I got him, I got the son of a bitch, and he just crashes through that fire and the camera's upside down, the music.
Yeah, that's one negative that my son brought up after the movie is he said one thing he didn't enjoy was the fact that he felt like he saw most of the great shots in the trailer.
I think they put a lot of the scenes that would please the general public in the trailer. They put the action scenes, they put the beat down, they put the car explosion. And if you didn't know any better, you would think this movie's a lot more action packed than it actually is. And so I think that was definitely the marketing department going, man, there's a lot of fucked up, slow murder mystery shit in this movie. Give me that car chase. Give me that dude getting the shit beat out of him. We got to make a trailer.
No, not the one with the thumb keychain. No, not that one.
Yeah.
But as far as cons, real quick, Bernie says I watched it at 4 p.m., got out at 7. I'm still processing it myself, man. I just sat down and again, I just like the perspective, initial reaction. These two gentlemen over here have had a few days to kind of sit on it and just let it dissect. So I kind of love that. We're giving people different perspectives, but I can't think of any other cons. I truly can't.
Yeah, I hate even calling it cons. There were things that I noticed again that I'm just like, I could see somebody. There was one thing that I pointed out that I actually laughed because me and I call him Uncle Sean. Me and Sean Chandler, we have this weird thing where like we do this mind meld once in a while for like the most random thing, and I'm just like, dude, get out of my head. And so he. I watched his review today, and I was like, holy crap, he said the same thing that I did. There was this thing that Batman does, and it's in the trailer, and the most badass moment that he does it is in the trailer, where he just walks towards gunfire like he doesn't even care.
Yeah.
He does it like 4 or 5 times in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes sense throughout the first 2 acts when this is clearly like almost borderline suicidal Bruce Wayne, where he just doesn't care. If I die tonight, who gives a shit? But when it's in the 3rd act, and he's trying to stop the Riddlers and he's trying to save Gotham and he's still doing that, like putting no effort into dodging the bullets, that was the moment where I was like, that's a little that's a little counterproductive to your plan, Batman. And then lo and behold, it almost takes him out. So that was the only thing where I'm like, they overused that cool thing a little too much.
And for me, I thought that was okay because it's year 2. He hasn't like got the cusp of it yet. He's still kind of a rookie, so to speak. So I thought that was fine. But yeah, maybe they could have in the third act kind of had him, I don't know, dodge, I don't know, bullets or whatever the case is. But I thought it was fine for the year 2 Batman.
Yeah,
I told you, man. I told you he has that confidence of a 4-year-old in a Batman costume. That's what it is. It's that confidence.
Exactly. Now, I guess we can go into since we covered the cons and the pros. We guess we can just. Talk
I do.
Oh, sorry.
There's some cons here.
More cons. Let's go.
Number one, just a minor note to that invincible seeming Batman who walks towards gunfire is, like the whole face thing is, it's an obvious loophole in any Batman movie. You can shoot him in the face, but let's just maybe he has some, I don't know, face protectant bat face nanotechnology. I don't know, but when that one dude explodes, when he has that time bomb on him, he's holding his shoulders and he gets sent back halfway across the room. No marks, just saying that's a little petty point. Yeah. But something that's not necessarily a con, but definitely on my, like what I would call like on the fence of my reviews. And I'm going to say the Riddler. And that's because 60% of the time I really enjoyed the Riddler. I really enjoyed the serial killer Riddler that they had. And then when he got caught and was in jail, it kind of flipped a little bit. The character changed a little bit. You got to see the not so like high on his crimes type of Riddler. It was very odd, and he came across very odd. And there was one moment in the movie when he was singing in the jail cell, and that's when it hit me like a lightning strike. That I am now on the other side of. I'm looking at this Riddler the way that I think people who don't like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, how they see him. Because I love Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Yeah, this fucking guy. A little bit like I love Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Wait, Cody, you hate him or you love Jesse Eisenberg's?
I'm not a fan.
No, he doesn't like him. But like this Riddler, when he was doing that singing in the jail cell, all I could hear was ding 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 ding. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about in Batman v Superman. At the very end,
I didn't see the comparison between the two.
Honestly. It was just an odd mouth acting wacky in a jail cell, and it just didn't work for me with this Riddler. But to me, I was like, okay, but I could see where this could work for other people. Now I'm on the other side, and if people are going to love this Riddler, it's going to be in the same light that I love Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. So that was the only like, it was kind of a con. Just my mixed aspect of this movie is definitely where they're going to go with the bad guys of this movie. Are they going to go the very theatrical kind of animated bad guys? Because that little hint at the Joker at the end was a very, very animated. How he was, and the Riddler was becoming more animated towards the end of the movie. So that really opens up the door for this to be a true rogues gallery of the villains, which is not a bad thing, but it just didn't match up with the rest of the movie with me. So does that make sense? Am I making sense to you guys?
It does for me, because one thing I love about Batman, I think we've touched on this in a previous live, I don't remember which one, but in my opinion, the best villain like his catalog are Batman and Spider-Man. They have the best villains in all comic books, in my opinion. And Batman himself and his villains, there's obviously a common denominator of mental illness, or like some sort of like a trauma that's really affected them to carry out these characters and to do these acts. And the origin of the Riddler being an orphan and growing up in this horrible condition space, he even says like rats were chewing on our fingers, and every winter it was sad because a baby died because it was too cold. Just to kind of like hear. And again, I watch a lot of murder mysteries. My girlfriend watches all these I Live with Evil true stories of like serial killer shit. So hearing that really is what I see on these real life shows, and like seeing all that mental trauma and portrayed with a fantastic actor in a modern adult type of Batman movie, I thought was appropriate. And I thought that was great, in my opinion. So.
And I approached for a moment kind of agreeing with Steve during the movie where I was like, oh, he's starting to dial it up a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then it quickly kind of dawned on me, not only with what you said with the trauma and kind of taking that into effect, but he, for whatever reason, genuinely thought like Batman was like in cahoots with him. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, man, we're bros, dude. And then as soon as he was like, no, you're a fucking freak. And it was just like he broke again. And that was when he just started losing it. And then, you know, he's watching the bombs. He's like, boom, big cow. And just, I don't know. Like it was one of those things again where I watched it and I was just like, damn, like I was approaching like, ooh, that was, I don't know. I think I like it.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's exactly. But when I saw the Joker at the end, you know, also being just as animated, that's what I was trying to get at was it seemed like, okay, well, this is going to be a consistent thing. Maybe this movie isn't going to be the copy and paste no wars type of story that I thought it might be, but that's when I really realized that it could open up to a very accurate comic book Batman, you know, rogues gallery of bad guys. So that's got me excited, and hopefully they don't change it too much, you know, trying to bring I love to see Mr. Freeze come into the franchise, but I hope it's not like such a grounded Mr. Freeze that it's like it's no longer Mr. Freeze. It's some guy who freezes his victims or something. You know?
I want a guy carrying like a bucket of liquid nitrogen and just throwing it on people. That's what I want for Mr. Freeze.
It would be kind of comical to see people like running away but stopped in their tracks, you know, or like the mask. You told me to freeze.
Yeah,
let's kick some ice.
Oh no!
There we go.
Diamonds, whatever.
Jesus Christ!
Going back to the Paul Dano scene where he said he falls apart, didn't he mention that he loved wearing the mask? Like the mask would like kind of had him kind of like act like himself, and he was like talking about the cowls. So maybe because he didn't have the mask, that's why he kind of lost it a little bit. So I don't know. I don't remember that scene entirely, but I think he mentioned.
Well, he's got a very unimposing look about him. He's got the very quintessential nerdy broken guy. He's got the goofy little glasses. I mean, he looks like Batman could probably kill him with one punch. And so that's probably what he was talking about. Yeah, because like Batman, Bruce Wayne by himself doesn't look that imposing. You put the bat suit on him, holy shit, run. And he probably felt the same way. Like, I'm the Riddler. I'm the guy murdering the elite of this city, and then you take it off and it's like, this fucking guy, really?
And Bernie, thanks for the comment. Because I know I'm like the only one typing in the chat because I know it's a spoiler review, so I get that. But the Riddler was pretty horrific for me. And Eisenberg said, "Ding, ding, ding." Hey, there you go. It wasn't.
One thing I am going to add to my cons though is the Riddler's mask as well. I love the jacket. I love the military style thing, but like that gimp mask just does not work for me. Just does not work for me in this movie. Like if it was cloth, maybe, but the fact that it was leather just, I don't know, just ruined it.
Wasn't it like an army surplus sort of mask or something like that?
Yeah, they said it was in the chat room or whatever, where they were like, it's at the army surplus store or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's
something. Yeah.
Great. I'm sure we'll see that roaming the streets a lot here soon. That's good.
Now we're a little over an hour, guys. So was there any other items that, again, I think we covered the pros, the cons, or did you have any other cons, Stevie?
No, as I said, a lot of my cons really came down to the property, the fatigue of Batman in general, like where I'm starting to see things, you know, kind of be regurgitated, but not intentionally, you know, like it's an accident because they're all pulling from the same source. So I'm starting to get fatigue in that sense. But if they had one more negative thing to say, it would be that goddamn post-credit waste of time. But yeah.
I think it was like a quick flash, right? He said goodbye, and then it was
leave us with a riddle? Leave us with a riddle. That's all you got to do. Just leave us with a riddle. Not a goodbye. Goodbye. Thanks. See you later.
I was one of 3 people that didn't even bother staying because I had already seen somebody tweet out that there wasn't one, and so I looked in there was like 100 people sitting there, and I'm just like, you're gonna be pissed, and I just left. Yeah, I found it. They're like, oh, there was a little thing. And I was like, well, shit, what was the thing? And then somebody told me, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't hold my piss for another 8 minutes for that.
Right, I wish it was a riddle that like led into like the next movie or something. That would be a hint into the next movie. Come on.
Yeah,
that'd be a good little dovetail to end on what you would want from the next movie.
Right? Yeah, that'd be cool. As far as again, we can talk about anything now, guys. I guess as far as the film for me, like I said, I mentioned earlier, this is a new standard in comic book movies being made into celluloid into film. It's an insult in my opinion to call this movie a comic book film. It's not. It's a graphic novel on film. That's what I'm going to describe it. That's what I'm going to call it when everybody asks me. It's, you know what, I'll say it now. It's probably my second favorite Batman. I don't want to say my all-time favorite yet because, again, I just walked out. Batman.
It's too early to even really decide because we're such an infant stage with this character. Yeah,
it's up there for me. It's one of the best Batman films because, again, it gave me what I've always wanted: a dark, sinister serial killer Zodiac in a Batman thrown in that space. But the standard's definitely set, and it's a beautiful film. And
Al is calling me. Sorry, Al Seward.
Is he?
What the hell? Yeah, hold on a second.
Maybe he wants to join the conversation. I don't know. I think he was seeing it tonight as well. But for anybody who's out there, if you're a Batman fan and you love the graphic novels, I think you're going to be pretty pleased with this. Again, it really gives us critics and fans an idea on what we can achieve and what we can see when a true filmmaker.
Hey, Rudy.
Yeah.
Al's got a message for you. Go ahead, Al.
Okay.
Rudy, where's my link, buddy?
Oh, you want to join us?
Please.
Okay, well, let's bring Al. Let me just stand by, everybody.
There you go, Al.
All right, just stand by. Let me go ahead and get it.
I swear to God, if this guy's in his car again.
Where's my link? This guy. Okay, just stand by, everybody. Talk about yourself.
Oh man!
You know, he's just like trash, and then logs off.
I will block you. Yeah.
I'll put it this way: if there's one thing that my indecisiveness has really shown me is that where this movie sets in my head is almost like a fan-made film. It really is. Like, it seems so unique that it's hard to believe that a movie like this is actually in theaters. And that's not to be confused with a low quality film. But as I said, like, recognizing all these bits and pieces from the other movies that I've seen all wrapped up in, Seven Skin, it seems like a fan-made film, which is turning into a positive thing for me. As I said, once I realized it was my fatigue of the property that was making me, look at it this way. Once I realized that this is a fan-made film and the fan is Matt Reeves, and that's where I'm starting to grow my love for this movie. And it's taken me 2 days. As I said, I was so pissed off I couldn't even write my review last night. I just had to figure it out, but I'm glad I did.
Daniel says shorter runtime. What do you guys think about that? I was perfectly fine with the 3 hours. I did drink a lot of beer, but I had like this monk type of power where I can physically tell my body, you're not going to piss during this movie. You're going to sit here and enjoy it. And that's exactly what I did, man. I loved it.
Yeah, I when you say shorter runtime, what goes along with that is that you have to have specific things in your head about, I could have done without this scene. I could have done without this thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, was 3 hours a long movie? Yes. Is it a movie that I'm probably going to rewatch as often as movies that are an hour and a half or 2 hours long? No. But there's nothing in this movie that I could point out where I'm like, I could get rid of that. I could take that out. I could shorten this up. Like, like I said, it's like a chapter book. You can't take out chapter 3 because then chapter 4 doesn't work. And so for me, I was totally okay with it being 3 hours, with it being deliberately paced, with it being a little bit more slow and brooding and methodical. That's kind of what I wanted.
Yeah, it is. But also in the comments I read, my buddy Ramon from Hit or Miss TV said the movie was okay, but it's being hyped up to be better than what it actually is. And I was kind of on the same page with him at first. And like, again, he just got done with this movie. He called me, like, as I said, right before we started the live stream, he had just got out of the theater. But I feel that. But I had to figure out how to separate why I was feeling that in my head. But, going forward, I'm looking forward to what this movie can bring to the table for this franchise. But also, I think a lot of my vision was being very askewed with knowing this was born out of the ashes of Ben Affleck's Batman, like that movie that I really wanted to see, and now I'm like, okay, well, I'm judging you, magnifying glass, everything you say, I'm going to be fucking on it. That's how I went into this movie, a little skewed that way. What's up, Al?
Hey,
hello, gentlemen.
What's up?
We literally just walked down the steps, and I looked at my phone, and I saw we were live streaming. My wife and I just got back from it. I'm like, oh no! I called Rudy first. Rudy didn't answer his phone, so then I called Stevie.
I put my phone on mute. I don't know why.
Yeah, I had on Do Not Disturb. I would get distracted, but you just saw it, huh?
Yeah, I just saw it.
All right. Again, I just saw it myself like 2 hours ago. And what are your initial thoughts?
I loved it. I thought it was really good, and it's interesting the comparisons that are being made with Reeves and Nolan, because definitely I feel like this is a different Batman. I loved the fact that it was darker. Honestly, Rudy, though, I do wish that this was a you can walk by. No, you won't be on camera. Just walk behind it. There you go.
That's
all right.
I said hi. Hello.
I see you.
I can see through the blue screen. Yeah.
No, I thought it was great. And I like the darker Batman. I honestly wish actually they would have gone R, because I really wanted to see more blood in this. And it felt like it was missing with some of with how violent it was. It felt like, okay, I need to see a pool of blood, somebody's brain splatter or something, because yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and the pacing I thought was perfect for the story. To me, I didn't really feel the runtime, because I thought it was really appropriate with how the story was told. I thought it was amazing. I mean, really, I was blown away. I thought it was very good.
I actually got really excited at one point because the movie had felt like it had been going on already for at least a couple of hours, and there was just so much stuff going on. And I was so invested in it. And then the jackass next to me tilted his phone up to check his text messages. And I was like, man. And I looked over like annoyed. And then I saw the time and I was like, this thing's only been on for 40 minutes. It was, I remember having that. I was like, oh my God, I got 2 more hours of this. This is awesome.
The pacing for me, Al, as I mentioned earlier, is like I didn't feel the 3 hours. There was a slow moment that I said earlier that some people may complain and say, it kind of drags to this one piece, and that's right after the car chase scene, which is one of the greatest car chase scenes ever in the film. We're already like a fanboying over here because of how that engine started during that chase. I was like, oh my God, it sounds like a fucking engine. I love it. Totally loved it. But
all right. Listen, I've heard you say it 3 times, Rudy. I'm gonna interrupt you. I'm sorry. BVS car chase scene is just way better to me, and not just that, but like there was moments in that car chase scene when they had Michael Giacchino's music playing, and it just completely embodied the BVS chase scene for me. I was like, I've seen this before. Yeah, it was one of the things. So it was a good chase scene, but not one of the best, in my opinion.
Okay. Now that you've brought up score, did anybody else feel like that one section of the score was just a little bit overused?
No.
No?
No, in my opinion, no. Okay. It was perfectly fine. For example, like just to kind of show everybody, I've been playing the score every day since it was released on Spotify. This is now my workout mix and my work mix. I love it. So I didn't have a problem with that tone. It's just like it has like this presence, just like the Batman character in this film did.
Yeah, you know what? I completely agree with that. I think that it was so well placed with when we heard it, and then the power that it came across with, especially in line with the visuals. I thought it was perfectly placed, and every time I saw it, I felt like I just felt like let's go. So yeah, I thought it was well placed too.
So how was it? Like you said, you loved it, Al. Like we talked pros and cons. Do you have any quick pros about the film other than what you've touched on already?
There wasn't a whole bunch that I didn't like about it. I thought some of the stuff was a little convenient. Like I would have the reveal of Chloe. I mean of Kravitz as Catwoman. I know we all knew it because of the trailers and things, but how he finds out in the movie and she just kind of changes, windows open, everybody, I'm like, that's a little convenient. I mean, I guess you could write it off as him being the detective that he is, but
yeah, we almost got Peeping Tom Batman. Yeah.
But I didn't really have too much of an issue with most of it. I thought it was super cohesive, the story. Very well done. I was surprised. I was really surprised. One thing I did like too that did surprise me. I was surprised with the amount of time we actually spent with Batman. I wanted to see what that was going to be like with how much we spent with Batman and how much we spent with Bruce. And we spent a lot of time with Batman, and I was glad to see that we got that throughout the film and not kind of these moments of seeing Batson most of the time with Bruce. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take what you said and I'll raise you that we saw Batman the whole movie. Like I think a lot of the movie was him trying, as we discussed earlier, was him trying to discover Bruce Wayne. So Bruce Wayne kind of didn't really exist in this film. In a sense,
in a sense, because Batman
yeah,
he's that persona is taking over. So
right, but Bruce Wayne will exist in the hopefulness of the people. I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
where that ends up.
And one other thing I touched on is just the presence, because again, how does Robert Pattinson need one look in the suit, and what type of presence does he command? I do like the direction in this film, how he just slowly hear the footsteps. He walks into a scene, and there's a crime scene, and he's just scanning the room, and he's just kind of giving little clues out to the CSI detectives in that scene. He was truly a detective in this film. Even like in like the classic Hollywood film noir, like, today was Thursday, a hot dame walked into the office, she was, he's giving like a narration of like his days and all that. So it truly felt for me like a detective movie. It's a detective movie in the 70s is what it felt like. And he's a vigilante, after hours. That's what it felt like to me. And that's what I love. It's so damn unique. It's so unique. And I want more films like this.
I wish they would have done more with that kind of noir commentary that he had. I was standing in the window late one night when she arrived. Yeah, that I do dig that concept, but I don't think it was played into enough in the movie. Like, I would have really enjoyed seeing him like keeping this journal or something like this, or even go on the other side of it and have the Riddler be the one narrating, since he had all those journals in his room where he's doing the whole John Doe from Seven thing, just writing every event that affected him in one way or another. But like him just coming out of nowhere and narrating seemed a little off-putting. I got it, but I would like to have seen him just have like something that he was keeping, to where we know that he's not just speaking to the wall, he's actually writing in something. But that was just a little nitpicky thing that I noticed. Since you brought it
up. Any cons, Al? And then we'll kind of go wrap up, everyone's like initial recommendation for the film. Like, any cons?
I mean, the only issue I had was the issue that I mentioned with Catwoman. Other than that, I really did enjoy it. And I was being nitpicky, especially with the visuals too, because I wanted to see how that came across. But everything was solid. Do you all know if most of this was practical effects? It looked like a lot of it was practical effects to me. Does anybody know what the deal is with that?
I don't know. I mean, it looked great. I know there was some probably CGI that was used in some scenes, especially during that chase scene where those tanker trucks are just kind of blowing up left and right. If it's CGI, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I would imagine probably a lot of the CGI would be in the landscaping. It's probably in that realm, kind of like Joker did. The CGI wasn't in your common everyday things as much as just creating a presence through the city.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
Well, I guess again, Al, thank you for showing up. And again, we're kind of like wrapping up here, because I wanted to get like everything under an hour and 30 minutes here. But again, spoilers again. But final recommendations about the film, like whatever ratings you have, if it's stars or whatever it is. What is your rating for this film? Cody, go first.
I gave it 5 out of 5, and like I said at the beginning of the stream, I don't think I've ever done that for a new movie. I'm usually hesitant to do that because I don't want to get lumped in with the if it's not an A, it's an F kind of thing. And so this was the only time, I think, unless somebody can correct me, and somebody might know, that in the 6 years I've been on YouTube where I saw a new film and went, that was perfect. I wouldn't change anything.
I would agree.
What villain do you guys want to see next?
Me? Oh, I want to go Mr. Freeze.
Yep.
I want to see a grounded in reality Mr. Freeze freezing people. I think that's a good one. Or maybe what's the guy that cuts himself? He's a serial killer.
Zaz,
yeah.
True, great Zaz, not like the one we got in the Harley movie. I want like a serial killer murder mystery. More films like this.
Or even more thrown away, the Zaz in the Bale movies. He appears in those, but he's just like nothing. He's just there. So yeah, I would like to see Freeze. Freeze needs the Riddler treatment, to pull him out of that Batman, and Robin, where he's been kept ever since that live action movie. I
have a dream casting for a grounded Mr. Freeze.
Oh, who's that?
Who's that?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Who?
Gus,
man, yes.
Gus
Yes.
Breaking Bad.
Oh.
He was
He was
also
also in,
what's the character that he played in The Boys, Cody?
Oh yeah, I don't know the
I don't
character's name, but
remember.
he's
blown
pretty much
up quite a bit since Breaking Bad, but everybody knows him from Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
I could see
he played the
dialect.
same character in The Boys. Like it was the same guy.
You might, and if you guys saw, it's super old, but he was super young. What was Spike Lee's movie that he was in? Oh man, you might not remember him from it because he was super young. What was the movie in New York where it was with Radio Raheem and all that? I can't remember the name of it.
Do the Right
He
Thing?
was in that movie, but he was really young then too.
Do
the Right Thing. He was in Do the Right Thing too. But no,
he was in Nothing to Lose as well. Martin Lawrence.
yeah. No, he would be great. Oh man, I like that. I would love that.
Someone had him in a fan casting as Magneto once, and as a new age Magneto, and I thought that was a really interesting twist. I think it could fit for that as well. But yeah, that's a good Freeze casting choice.
Yeah.
If this happens, I'm officially gonna like check my house for bugs. Like Matt Reeves and me, we're gonna talk.
He's got some good ideas, guys. Just tap the wire. Put a bug in there. Yeah, because again, Mr. Freeze, I remember in '96 when Batman and Robin came out, there were all these rumors that Patrick Stewart was going to be Mr. Freeze, which would have made the best sense, because he kind of looked like the animated series Mr. Freeze, kind of sounded like him, and I thought that would have been perfect. But no, they went with obviously Schwarzenegger and all that, so that was a big.
Schwarzenegger's much better for that movie. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I saw your review, dude. I put in your comments for Batman and Robin. I walked out.
Oh, really?
I walked out. Yeah, I was like 18 years old. I go, this is bullshit.
Well, I was 6, so I thought it was the greatest movie ever made. I'm not lying.
My son used to torture me with that movie. It was his favorite Batman movie for a long time. We would watch it all the time. But I'll tell you what,
too. I always wondered why my dad never commented on the movie. I'm like, why aren't you ever excited? What do you ever like gush over Terminator being Mr. Freeze? What's wrong with you? And
yeah, one of my
positives
about that movie was the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger just looked like he didn't give a fuck. He's just there having fun. He didn't care. He got $20 million to act like an idiot, and he just did it and loved it. So
I think he had to have known. He's too smart to not to have known. But it's so funny because I put the clip in my review too. There's actual interviews you can find of him.
Yeah,
he's like, this is the most fantastic script I've ever read. And it's just so funny. It's so funny. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah, he still has one of the worst lines I've ever heard in a Batman movie, which is that everybody chill. And then he comes in, I'm like, oh, that's so bad.
21 ice puns that he made in that movie that he got paid $20 million for. That's a little less than $1 million per ice pun. So
I enjoy that all day long.
Right.
Mr. Freeze or Scarecrow. I think we've had a good Scarecrow in the Batman Begins. I thought it was fantastic, especially that one scene where they reverse the Batman time to taste your own medicine, and then he looks at the Batman cow and he looks like a demon. I thought that was really cool. So I think we've gotten a good Scarecrow for the films.
Not only that, but if you're into the Arkham games, we got a fantastic Scarecrow in Arkham Knight with
yes, that's a very Freddy Krueger inspired Scarecrow.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Mr. Freeze needs redemption.
Well, one character I would like to see in a live action movie would be Solomon
Hugo
Grundy.
Strange. I'm sorry, who'd you say?
Well, Hugo Strange, of course, but I was gonna say Solomon Grundy as well. But Hugo Strange would make a good HBO Max series, I bet. At Arkham with Hugo, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. Going back to Batman and Robin, I remember I was excited because I had a huge crush on Uma Thurman because she had just made Pulp Fiction and was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and then they casted her as Poison Ivy. I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be nice. And then I see the film, I'm like, motherfucker, this is so stupid. And Bane had just broken Batman's back in the comics, and then we get that on the film. I'm like
I was shocked rewatching these how sexual the 80s and 90s Batman films are. It's astounding. I mean, all the little, even Poison Ivy, where she's just like, come on, my garden needs tending. And I'm like, yeah, I bet it does.
Wow, that's a literal bush. Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Real quick, yes, I this is my call. I wanted to do a spoiler discussion because I'm not gonna have any time to do another video. So again, I gave plenty of warnings throughout the cast. If you haven't seen this film, do not watch this. Watch this after the fact. then come back and watch the video and join the conversation.
That's why I told Rudy to do it on his channel and not mine.
Yeah, I'll take the criticisms, but no, I was excited about this, and I wanted my initial thoughts on the video. I wanted to talk about this thing, dude.
I needed this. I needed this live stream today. So thank you, Rudy, for hosting this, because like I told you guys, I was not right for a good day and a half trying to think of where I fit this movie into my realm of movie going experiences. So
exactly. Al, I think we're going with ratings. I'll finish with UCV. Al, I know it's early, but right now, what are your initial thoughts? What would you rate this with your scale?
I loved it, man. I'm in step with Cody. I think it was dang near perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, almost in every way, I felt like every piece of this film was so well put together to create an amazing whole that I thought it was fantastic. And I look for opportunities, Rudy, to hate on DC stuff. But
of course you do.
I thought this was amazing. So
yeah, it's
I mean, I would give it a 5 out of 5, an A+.
Time to change that pillow behind your head there, Al.
Oh no, I can't do that.
I'm gonna send you a Batman shirt, Al.
No, I need a Batman shirt, so thank you, sir.
Stevie, I don't know what your ratings. What would you rate it? The Batman.
Well, I'm gonna have to take some notes from Sean Chandler's book here. I'm gonna have to give, as of now, I'm gonna have to give this movie 2 ratings. A movie going rating. Like just going there, my entertainment value of just watching the film was a lot of fun. As a fan, of the series, I am getting fatigued from this property. So I need to go watch it again before I can merge those two things together. But as a fan, it was kind of low because I felt like I had seen this movie before in so many different parts. I'd seen this before. I'd seen that before. Okay, just give Batman a box so he can scream what's in the box. Like that. I was just waiting for that moment to happen. So yeah, as a fan, it's a little down in the I'd say C+, but as entertainment, just enjoying a movie, it's definitely in the A range.
Okay. All right.
Hard crowd.
Yeah. For me, like I said, I usually go 1 through 100. I'm going to give this film, again, I just saw it and I really haven't had a chance. So this may change later on, but I can't think of any cons. I can't think of any weak links in the cast. I can't think of anything dragging in the film. The cinematography, the directing, the storyboarding, the act, everything was top notch. The suspense, the Riddler, we saw something different. Again, when we talk about the comic book films, and Steve, like you said, fatigue. I got fatigued like years ago with all the Spider-Man recasting. When we got Tom Holland, like another Spider-Man. We just had 3 in the past 10 years. Now we're gonna get another one.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So I get it. But if you bring them back or revamp it, give us something different. I don't want the same, shit we've seen before. Do something different. And that's what I kind of liked about the Garfield one, because it was a little bit darker. And I wish he would have gotten his full trilogy at the time. I think they're going to go back and give him a shot. But I like the tone of that. It was a little different, So with this, it's a revamp. And I wanted a Ben Affleck written Batman movie because the guy won a freaking Oscar. It would have been amazing in his hands and with that treatment. But this was like my second tier what I would want. Again, as an adult man who grew up with Batman, Adam West, Tim Burton, Schumacher, Nolan, everybody, this is the film. If I were to give in the tools, like, Rudy, go make your Batman movie, this is the film I would have made. Because I love the villain, the exploration with the Riddler, the tone of it. It was a serious graphic novel, not a comic book movie. So I'm going to give it 100 right now. I can't think of any cons. I can't at all. So it's a must-see. And I hardly give hundreds to anything at all. So that's my recommendation. Did we get everybody?
3 out of 4. You lose, Stevie.
hey, I don't lose. I'll be happy over here.
I'm
My
kidding.
Stevie Island, just sitting here judging movies. That's all I do.
Yes, and I did see this. I don't know if you guys have read The Court of Owls. I freaking love that graphic novel. I would love to see this as a possible sequel.
I don't know much about The Court of Owls. I
don't know much either, but
I did in the Gotham series. That it's like a little governmental sort of underground thing, I think.
All right.
I did want to ask you guys this real quick. I know you're wrapping up, but
no, go ahead.
When I finished watching this, I thought about Joker as well, and thinking about those 2 films, and then I thought about the whole of the DC EU and trying to create, I guess, DC EU films kind of in the vein of what we saw with the Batman and the Joker. And as the more I thought about this, I'm not even sure if that's possible to create, to bring everybody in with this type of tone and kind of build that we got. And I know the Joker and Batman are different, but in some ways they felt similar to me when I was viewing them. They kind of had I guess a similar like cinematic through lines in terms of how they felt. And then I thought, could you bring the others in and keep this same kind of cinematic appeal and have it work? I'm not sure that you can. I'm just curious what you all think about that.
I don't think that they're going to, even if they found a way to do that. I think Matt Reeves and everybody is set on doing their own Batman universe. I think Batman's got enough characters with not only the Rogues Gallery, but also his partners, Nightwing, Robin, all of them, that they could do their own universe just in Gotham. And I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me personally, I wouldn't want like a multiverse situation where, you know, Pattinson turns around and he sees Keaton like, what are you doing here? Like, no, don't fuck it up. Don't leave it alone. I want their own isolated worlds, the tone. I'm fine with that. And I know that won't mesh with the MCU because, again, the MCU is doing it perfect. Like we mentioned Al last week when we talked, they're doing it right. Everything they're doing is on point. I'm perfectly fine with DC doing their own thing, doing something different. If they were to do movies like this, but with villains, like maybe the next movie will be like Freeze, and it's like a dark movie like this with Mr. Freeze, I would be so down for that.
Well, HBO Max opens up a lot of opportunities, just like Disney Plus has been doing. Like they're doing the Penguin show. They're supposed to be doing something with Gotham PD. I don't know if it's going to have Jeffrey Wright in it or not, but that right there is the easiest way for them to just flesh out certain characters so that when you get to the movies, if you want to do a little bit of homework, they don't have to waste their time with 45 minutes of setup. They just, hey, go watch that.
Yeah. Right. And that series that you're talking about, Leach, is Warner Brothers just came out or HBO Max just came out and said that, or maybe it was Matt Reeves, I don't remember who, somebody came out and said there's going to be another series. And I'm not sure if it's going to be that GCPD series or not, but they said it was going to intertwine with Arkham as well. So which could be
that right there is just built in to show all the villains.
Well, yeah, it can almost be like an anthology series, where you just have, each episode's it can be a different character or a different villain. But I do believe that Jeffrey Wright is attached to one of the properties that's going to be a prequel, I believe, if I remember correctly. So
awesome.
Good.
Question for you, Cody, about the Penguin. Which do you prefer, this one or the 92?
Oh God, dude. It's not even comparison. Like I said earlier, and I said in my review, I've never been a fan of the Penguin character. It doesn't matter what incarnation it is. Doesn't matter if it was Danny DeVito's Fish Boy. Doesn't matter if it was the animated series, the Arkham verse. Like he just always seems like a silly villain to me. A short little chubby guy with a cane and a monocle. Yeah, well, I just don't get it.
What the hell's coming out of his mouth? What is that shit?
Exactly. And the Burton one is way out there. I'm not even really a big fan of those movies. So yeah, this is the only version of Penguin that I looked at and I'm like, that's awesome. So that pretty much answers your question.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, we're at an hour and 32 minutes. I want to thank Mr. Cody Leach, Steve, and Al, the man himself, for dropping in as a surprise guest on this spoiler discussion for the Batman.
Phone a friend.
Again, I know it's early, but again, I wanted to get my initial thoughts out there and talk it out with you guys. And again, I appreciate everybody's time. So thank you, everybody. Good night.
All right.
Peace out. Bye.